What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a really exciting knife review slash knife overview to do with you guys. This is the Holt Bladeworks Specter V3. You guys have heard me talk before about how much I wanted to get my hands on this, not just for the channel, but just to experience for myself. A lot of other, major reviewing channels have all been talking about this and its evolution from version 1 to version 3 and how amazing it is. And I looked at it and I was like, man, this thing checks so many boxes for me. And I really want to handle it and see if it, what all the fuss is about. So thanks to my buddy at Herms Things on Instagram, I am able to do that. So give that man a follow. It's because of people like him that I'm able to bring you guys this type of content. Also, if you would like to support me on Patreon at the same time, get your hands on one of these cool stickers, and gain access to my once-a-week Patreon exclusive content, there is a link down in the description, as well as a link for my Redbubble store, so you can get your hands on some cool Metal Complex merch. If that's something that you're interested in, the support would absolutely mean the world to me. I'm also going to suggest that you guys head over to the Holt Bladeworks website. That's holtbladeworks.com, and go to the About section and learn about the Holts. They've got a very interesting backstory, some great information, and that'll save some time. We can get on to the review, and you guys can learn about the Holts if you'd like to. So they operate out of Iowa. Now, these are, by many people's definition, production, but I need to stress something before we start talking about this. The Holt Specter is on the utmost peak of high-end production, right? I mean, like, these exist in the same realm, and some people will argue higher than where the Koenig Arius exists, right? So for those of you who have handled the Koenig Arius, I've got one right here. Everybody knows by now exactly how precision these knives are made. They are very expensive. They are made in the USA. Same thing with Holt. But we are talking about the absolute pinnacle. There are elements of this knife that require attention, human attention, right? So this blurs the line between production and mid-tech, but I'll go ahead and say this is one of, if not the most precision-made, knife or type of knife that I have ever handled. I hope that sentence fluency existed. Probably wasn't, but do you guys understand? I'm sure what I'm saying is that what we're looking at here is a very expensive, extremely precision-made knife. So I want to keep that in mind here while we go over it, and I will probably emphasize that multiple times. Let's go ahead and measure it here. What we're looking at is, to my surprise, a much larger knife than I thought it was. Not huge, right? I think the original design was actually that it was going to be smaller, but it was surprisingly, in a good way. It was bigger than I thought. We're coming in at just a hair over 8 inches. Blade length surprisingly about 3.6 inches overall. Cutting edge exactly 3.5 inches. Boy, that is just the right spot. When I pulled this out of the box, I was expecting something, slim and sleek and slender, right? But this is a little bit bigger, and it felt good. That's the only thing that I was worried about, that I wouldn't like about the Specter, is that I was going to be like, well, I'm used to bigger, chunkier, thicker knives. Is it going to be sleek and slender and smaller than what I like? No, it actually feels like a full-size knife. So anybody else that's worried about that, you guys can see this in my hand, how my hand falls into place here. This is a full-size knife, and it feels good. I really, really like that. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons here. Up against the Ontario Rat Model 1. Rat 1, as you can see here, coming in a little longer at about 8.6 inches overall. How about up against the Spyderco PM2? Spyderco PM2 is coming in a little longer at about 8.3 inches overall. But see what I mean here? I'm sure lots of people familiar with the PM2. How about up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue? Ritter Hogue coming in also at about 8 inches. So blade's taller, body's a little bit thicker, right? Taller. But we're looking at the same vicinity as far as, well, exactly the same length overall. Last but not least, the Spyderco Para 3. Para 3 is coming in at 7.25 inches overall. How's the action on this guy? The action is flat out perfect. This is a fall shut knife because of the angle that we're at. I'm having to give it a little bit of encouragement, but I'm telling you that this knife, despite it having a slender blade, not an enormous amount of material to assist in weight, this is a frictionless drop shut knife. As frictionless as I have ever felt. And on top of that, it has a flipper tab that is designed exactly right, not too obtrusive, enough though that you can get your finger on it, break that detent, which is perfectly, flawlessly tuned to deploy that blade. It's nice and clicky. It's very satisfying. The detent does click it back down into place solidly. It's got the right feeling in terms of a, there's like this solid click into place where you feel like everything is nicely locked into place. Now, oftentimes with that sort of bank vaulty type lockup that you get in the closed or open position comes excess mass, right? For a lot of us, myself included, we sort of put those two things together. This kind of defies, I talk sometimes about knives that defy my sense of, what feels like what. This knife feels like an incredibly precision-made lightweight cutting tool, but its size and the way that it feels when it locks up sort of throws my whole perspective off balance in terms of what I expect, right? And I like that. I like to be pleasantly surprised, but this is a very new and very unique feeling that I don't get, right? The Koenig, I get that feeling too, but the Koenig is a bigger, heavier, thicker knife, right? And it feels precision made, but it's not as lightweight. So it's nice to get that all in one package. Beautiful, perfect action. How's the carry profile? Let's put it up against the, I'm sure you guys know what I'm going to say. Let's put it up against the PM2 and Para 3-2 knives that have, in my opinion, awkward carry profiles that, say it with me, nobody ever complains about. And as you can see here, we're basically looking at a small rectangle. This is incredibly easy to carry this way. How about thickness? Well, tie included, you're looking at exactly the same thickness as a Para 3, so no issues there. It does have a flipper tab, but the width at its widest point between a knife like versus a knife like this, you can see it's just not a cumbersome. This is not cumbersome in terms of profile. How about weight? We are looking at, in this newest version, I know older versions weren't like this, we are looking at some milled titanium on the inside. You can see there's some nice pockets milled out on that side, and is it on this side too? I actually didn't look. A little bit. There's a little bit of milling there. But anyways, yeah, there is some relief in terms of milling. So I think you're all going to be pleasantly surprised. You guys know I don't actually do the weight until the review. Yeah, 3.5 ounces. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That's so awesome. 3.5 ounces. Golly, just perfect. Awesome. I'm so excited about that. Now, you guys, I'm sure you like, you say you like heft, right? What I like is what the end result of this was, right? The weight, and I mean, like, this matches up with so many people that are concerned, like, want to carry a larger knife, but are concerned with weight and balance. Well, here you go, right? I mean, this thing, by the way, is balanced right there where it should be, right on that finger choil, right? This area right here. So you get that nice lightweight, but it feels substantially lighter because of where it's balanced, right? There's the right amount of milling. Everything is just, it's executed so well. So what are we looking at for materials? Well, in this case, we are looking at 6Al4V titanium for the scales, for the hardware, for the backspacer, and for the pocket clip. And then, of course, for this beautiful, perfect blade, we're looking at CPM 20CV. Love the lion logo there. That's really cool. So this is the third version, the way that I understand it. And, I'm not on the up and up with the entire history of Holt Blade Works. I did listen to, I believe they were on the Knife Nuts podcast. So they talked about, I think, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, they went to Blade Show in 2013, and they went and they looked at Shirogorov knives, and they talked about him. He talked about how impressed he was with just the precision manufacturing. And I think that, to me, there's a little bit, you can see that there's some influence there, and that's nice. We have two obviously very different knives here, but you can see a little bit of subtle influence, as is the case with many makers. Yeah, very impressed with that. Now, he's I think an aerospace engineer, and he does this on the side. It's in the about section of that website that I showed you guys, and I was like, wow, well, that makes sense why we have such a precision made product, right? So anyways, they work with some different materials. I mean, obviously, like a lot of makers, who will make custom orders. They've got Damasteel. They can do different types of inlays. But what's interesting is, and their books are closed right now. This is one of the negatives, is that there's a lot of spotlight on Holt Blade Works right now. This is a very popular model. And as usual, secondary market prices are through the roof. But, if you have your name, you got an order and it comes to be your turn. Here's what's super cool about these knives. The information, the configurable parts of this knife are so vast, right? You have all of these different textures, and you can actually go on the website and take a look at this. They have a ton of different texture patterns that you can choose from. We have sort of feathering going on here, which is beautiful. You guys know how much I love textured titanium, right? They've got this feathering. They've got some sort of like horizontal lines or diagonal lines you can choose from. They've got checkering, which is what I would choose. All of these different designs. Now, on top of that, you have pretty much every color you could possibly imagine on the anodizing scale. And I mean that like by micro shade. They have little charts where you can show everything can be tweaked so perfectly. It's like, well, I want purple, but I want a specific type of purple, right? This isn't just purple. It's not like they chose like, I want purple, and they click the box for purple. No, they chose like purple 91A-2, or what? That's not actually what the code is. But what I'm saying is there's a code depending on the shade of purple that you want. That is intense. That's so cool. And then they have options for like anodizing the frame. If you want the frame more matte, more reflective. If you want sort of like a fade, like blue to bronze, you want a rainbow effect. It's insane the amount of customization that can go into this. It's truly amazing. So what's neat, and I love, you guys know I'm a huge Rick Hinderer fan. I always talk about how much fun it is to really make it feel like that knife is for you, right? That's so cool. So I was very, very much a big fan of that. Let's go ahead and talk about the knife itself. We have a beautiful, fully flat ground drop point blade in a blade stock thickness of, let's go ahead and turn this on so you guys can see, zero it out. It's very thin on the stock, 125 thousandths. That's awesome because it comes down to a super slicey edge. And take a look at how beautiful that edge is. Nice semi-mirror polish on that edge. It's just wonderful. You can see there exactly how thin it gets. This is about as performance-oriented as a blade gets. There is nothing in the cutting path that blade is ready to do what you need it to do. But at the same time, it's not what I would call a weak blade. As far as 125 thousandths goes, it carries some reasonable thickness down to the tip. That's wonderful. And because of the profile of the blade, it fits nicely into this handle, creating just an excellent carry profile. There is functional jimping back here. And considering where that flipper tab is and this nice cutout here, it's just, the ergonomics on this thing are just fantastic. The texturing on the scales locks you in. It's so nice. Plenty of room here to engage the lock bar. It's just amazing. There's, of course, no double clutch. It's very easy. I mean, talk about like if you like to sit around on your couch and just flip your knife over and over again. Oh boy, is this fantastic. Look at the landing zone back here. No issues whatsoever. I have spent a lot of time flipping this and playing with it and just enjoying it, and I'm just a huge fan. You can see there is a steel lock bar insert doubling as the over travel stop. Interesting how they've got that sort of tucked away under the main part of the frame here. But that's really, really cool. I love that. You can see here everything is nicely chamfered. There are no sharp edges anywhere except for the cutting edge. This is all nicely knocked down. It's nice to the touch. Visually, I mean, it's perfect. They just have their Holt logo and then the 20 CV. It's just beautiful. The blade is perfection. I mean, if the word perfection could be personified or essentially, created, and become a physical object, it would be this blade. This blade is perfect. I've said that before, but I mean it. This blade is just perfect. Coming out to the scales here, you can see this texturing is just, oh, it's unreal. This texturing is just beautiful. And you're going to get that same level of precision regardless of the texturing you choose. Everything's nicely rounded off. The texture, you can feel it, but nothing is sharp. That's nice. We have a nice sort of subdued, almost, I think it's like a bead blasted finish, but it's not that chalky bead blasted, right? It's smooth, but it has the bead blasted appearance, which is nice in contrast with the blade. Like I said, you have different options for different finishes. On this particular one, we have purple hardware. Oh, by the way, even the pattern that's on the pivot is something that that can be changed. Now, looking at this though, I'm wondering if that's Anno or Cerakote. I don't know. In any case, whether it is Anno or Cerakote, I think that I've seen like the chart there where they can anodize the hardware in different colors. I believe that that's Anno. I could be wrong, but you do have some different options for the type, the texturing on the pivot or the pattern on the pivot, and that's really, really cool. I personally, mine, as you guys could guess, would be all one color, but I would be tempted to go with some green here. I think that would look really, really nice. Here's what's cool. I'm not going to use my tools. I will go ahead and advertise them to you real quick, though. The WIA bit selector and my WIA magnetic driver, two very inexpensive items that I can recommend to everybody. There are links down in the description, as well as links for a lot of the really cool knives that you see on my channel every day, whether they're high-end production knives or budget knives. There's something down there for everybody. So if you're watching my channel because you've got an itch that needs to be scratched, I can promise you'll find something down there in my description. I'm not going to use my tools on this because this is not mine and I don't want to risk putting a mark on it. You're going to have to take my word for it though. All the hardware is T8. That's beautiful. T8 pivot, T8 body screws, and guess what? There's two of them going into a perfectly machined gear pattern backspacer. How beautiful is this back here? This is just incredible. Look how it like sort of drops into the frame there. Just wonderful. It's so wonderful. If you want to take this apart, it's going to be super easy. Moving over to the other side, speaking of perfection, look at the pocket clip and the position of it. It carries almost completely deep and it just sort of molds right into the frame. I believe there's a hidden screw on the underneath somewhere, perhaps underneath the backspacer. But in any case, that pocket clip is just wonderful. There's no divot to dig your finger in, but in terms of, coming in and out of the pocket, I mean, it's so perfectly made. You can see there anodized sort of a bluish purple. There's some iridescence to it. You can see the blue coming out, the purple coming out more depending on which way I'm turning it. Really, really pleasant on the eyes. The rest of the knife is much the same as the front, except of course you have the lock bar, and you can see there even the lock bar screw is anodized. It's so nice. Did I mention that the knife is perfectly centered and has not moved from that mark since I've had it? It's perfectly centered. I have flipped this thing so much, so often, right? Everything has held right in place. The tolerances are just beautiful. This knife has basically no flaws. There is one area back here where, and I think this has been pointed out before, the blade, because of the profile and the thinness of the blade, there is an area right here where you can touch the blade, but it's maybe 1/4 of an inch. And I can't think of an organic situation where I would be putting my finger in there and risking cutting myself, right? You really have to dig for it. You really have to push. So I'm hesitant to even call that a flaw, considering what you gain in terms of blade shape, blade thickness, profile, and handle profile gives you a massive benefit in how easy this thing is to carry, right? I'm sorry, I don't think that that's a flaw. Call me blind, or starstruck or whatever. Perhaps it is just wanting to love this knife as much as everybody said that I was going to, but I honestly think what we have here is a perfect knife. Now, what is an actual issue right now is the fact that these are incredibly difficult to get a hold of. Your best bet in terms of getting one and paying a fair price is to follow them on Instagram. Follow Holt Blade Works on Instagram, and much like a lot of these makers who are trying to keep up with demand, they make a few extra outside of custom orders. I think this is how this works. or perhaps, maybe there are orders that are canceled. I don't know 100%, but every now and then one goes up. It's pre-made, right? And they'll say, this one's going to go up, number whatever is going to go up tonight at this time. If you're interested in purchasing it, you can type in, and then they have a sort of lottery to see who wins the chance to buy it, and then you can buy it for a fair price. Fair price, is going to be different for every single person. I'm sure a lot of you would love to hear me say that you could get your hands on these for $250, but you have to understand there is a lot more that goes into this than a standard super high-end production knife. These knives are, in my opinion, out of everything that I've handled, I have never handled, and maybe besides the Koenig Arius, I have never handled a knife that was made with such precision. I have to emphasize that. These are above and beyond, right? I'm not saying every person out there needs to go immediately spend money, a lot of money, on a Holt Specter V3, but I'm saying those of you who really want to put your money into the best of the best in terms of precision manufacturing, look no further than this knife, right? That being said, I believe you can get these direct from Holt for around, at base price, around $750. I understand that I just lost a lot of you right there, right? But honestly, versus, other knives that are out there, that are supposedly in the same caliber, right? That's pretty fair. And for what you're getting here, it's pretty fair. But you can get titanium on 20C and 20CV on knives that are $200. Yeah, you can, but this isn't so much about just the materials used. It's about how they're being put together, how perfectly they are being put together. There is a difference when all of those tolerances are kept so tight and so perfect and everything is meant to break in unison, and what you have is, it's just a product of just absolute precision in engineering. I'm sorry, in manufacturing. This is incredible. I have handled, in my opinion, not everything, but some of the best production and mid-tech knives the world has had to offer. Where I'm lacking is in custom knife experience. I do have some, but not all. But yeah, and that's the thing with custom knives. They're handmade, so there's room for error. So, a lot of people I think are confused by this, but you're going to find a lot more flaws on a full handmade custom knife than you will a precision manufactured knife. A lot of people put value into one side or the other, and I'm not here to argue that. But for those of you who are ultra picky, and I mean comb over your purchase with a magnifying glass, looking for flaws, looking for things that will create that sickening feeling of buyer's remorse, you will not find it with this knife. These are perfect, and for that reason, those of us I say those of us, truthfully, this is a little high on what I'm used to spending on a knife, but would I spend this, given the opportunity, would I spend that kind of money to get this with the exact configuration that I wanted? Yes, I would. Yes, I would, and I want to make that clear because what I'm about to say is going to be contradictory to that. I can't openly recommend this knife to everybody because it's just way too expensive, way more expensive, or way more money than most people are ever going to need to spend on a knife. Nobody needs to spend that much money on a knife. I'm not going to tell you that you're getting, a knife that's getting that, versus let's say a $150 knife, where I always say the point of diminishing returns is in terms of performance and utility for the materials used, right? $150 knife. Is this, oh my gosh, let's test my math here. $600 more of a knife. I'm guessing. I don't know exactly how much this was brand new, but say it was $750. Is it $600 more of a knife in terms of utility than this knife? Probably not. But can I tell is there a major difference in terms of how this knife is put together and how it feels, in terms of the quality? While I am very happy with the quality on my Hogue Ritter, it is not the same thing at all. This is a substantially more precision made piece. I can see and feel where the money went. So for those of you who have your name in the books already or plan to put your name in the books in the future, are you going to be happy with your purchase? Yes, you will. You definitely will. And if I have inspired you to try and seek one out, I'm telling you, your best chance is to go follow them, because if you go and find one of these on the secondary market right now, you are going to pay way more than that. People do. They pay way more money, and for those people, I'm sure it was worth it to them. But if you want a good price direct from Holt, you're going to have to follow them on Instagram or wait till their books open up, which sounds like it might be a while. I hope I got all this information correct. I really wanted to be thorough with this. And again, emphasize that even though I can't put this knife on my most recommended playlist, it is definitely going on my favorite knives of all time playlist. This is an easy winner. I mean, for anybody curious, like, is it a candidate for Excalibur? Oh yeah, definitely. This is one of the greatest folding knives that I have ever handled. This thing is awesome, and I can't wait to see where Holt Blade Works goes in the future. This is just, it makes me feel like, you know, the titanium frame lock on bearings thing is, it's like they did it. They won. They made the best one, and it's time for a universal evolution of the entire industry, right? The flipper frame locks of this world they have saturated this market, and Holt was like, here we go. We made the best one. Here it is. It's the Holt Specter V3. This was a lot of fun to play with, and I hope that this was at the very least entertaining for you guys. I know that this was a long one, but in any case, thanks again at Herms Things for letting me take a look. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do of course have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on this metal complex logo right here and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.